has changed my mindset a lot as well when it comes to people pleasing. Just identifying the different ways of how, your negative thoughts play in your mind. I would have given my full self to somebody else. And then once that was done, I would have came back to this. But now I'm like, oh, no. I'm still going to do what I want to do. I'm still going to do the podcast. I'm still going to do the YouTube. I'm still going to go out and, have fun with my friends and hang out and do all those other things. But if you want to sleep well, my eczema was bubbling over on itself. And I wasn't there mentally. I wasn't even showing up to the best of my ability on the court when I was able to even practice with them. These episodes are intended for mature audiences. Viewer and listener discretion advised. Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome to episode 2 of Stories of a Dandelion. I thank you all for tuning in. And today we're just going to be talking a little bit more about my story. I'm going to talk about people pleasing. Yeah. Growing up, I was a bit of a people pleaser. I think that's common with military brats. I think because we have such structured lives that it can be easy to be people pleasers sometimes, because our lives are so structured. It's like, okay, we do this, this, and this, and then people tell us what to do, and we go and do it, right? And once you graduate high school, all of that changes. You have to decide for yourself what time you get up, when you get up. And I feel like, maybe it's not just us, because I think, most kids have structure like that in their lives. And so it can be easy to just do whatever your friends want to do or whatever your parents want to do, because it just makes life easier for all of you. But once you grow up and you start thinking for yourself and you start wanting to say no, it can become hard, because for so long you've said yes to the things that your parents wanted to do or your friends wanted to do, and you have changed. And I can definitely relate to that, because as the years go by, you change, they change, and sometimes what you like may not be what they like, and what they like may not be what you like. And when you have friends, especially being a military brat, it's hard to have friends for a long period of time when you're always moving around. So when you find friends that you can have for a long period of time, you want to hold on to that. So you start just doing what your friends want to do, right? It doesn't matter. This is one of the longest friendships I've had, and I'm going to hold on to it, and I'm just going to continue to do what my friends want to do. And for a while, you'll feel okay, you'll feel happy, because you're doing something that somebody else, somebody that you love is doing, and it makes you happy. Then after a while, you start feeling stressed, start feeling tired, maybe a little resentful. You start to lose who you are. And then it's also possible that it brings relationship problems within your friendships and your relationship with your family. And also what you're doing could be harming others in ways of gossiping or just being mean to others. And I can understand that. It's not easy being a military brat. Like I said, we don't always get to have friends for as long as we do sometimes. And what I've learned is it can be easy to just do what everybody else is doing and keep it moving. And that can be easily turned into becoming a people pleaser. And for me, that is that's what happened. Growing up, you always want to make your parents and your family and the people around you proud. And growing up, I was always told basketball was the one thing I was really good at. And I was always told, Gina, you're so good, you're great, and this and that. And I got to college, and when I decided not to play, I never heard anybody tell me that they were disappointed in me for not playing. But I put the expectation on myself that, everybody, like, they were disappointed that I wasn't playing. And then I went to college and I had the first ever my college experience. And what I'd realized is that I was not enjoying my college experience in the way that I should have been or could have been. And that changed everything for me. It forced me to see things in a different way. And honestly, it wasn't for the better. As you guys know, I went to play basketball in college from my last story, and it didn't go well. My skin started getting irritated. I started to stress a lot more. I started to resent the game that I fell in love with. I started having relationship problems with the people I love the most. I was always tired. I didn't know who I was. And that was about it. Because I wasn't harming anybody or anything like that. But I was harming myself by continuing to try to please people who didn't even care what I was doing. I know and I think that we put way too much real estate in other people's opinions about ourselves, about what we're doing. And that's what I did growing up. I put way too much real estate in other people's opinions. But as we all know, as military brats, we are expected to be a certain way at times, For me, being overseas my whole life, we represented the United States of America. And we had to represent the United States of America right. Try not to be the stereotypical American and, look beyond that. And so you're not trying to be an actor out there and stuff like that. And you're trying to be your authentic self, but you're also thinking, I am still representing my country, so how can I be my authentic self and, represent my country well? And sometimes it can get to the point where you don't know where your authentic self begins and where you representing your country begins. And I think that happened with me a little bit, where I allowed basketball to be my identity for a very, very long time. I started playing basketball when I was 5. And then I played with my Belgian team at the age of 7. And I played with my Belgian team from 7 until 17. And I played for my high school team when it came time. And then, went off to college and played again. And looking back on it now, I do realize how much of my identity was rooted in basketball, because I wasn't good in school. Like, I wasn't good in school because I was like super smart. Not saying I'm not smart, but I'm just saying, like, book smart and like studying wasn't my thing. I was just really, really good at memorizing information and putting it down on the paper for whatever test, right? And I had to get A's and B's in order to, I couldn't have any lower than a B+, which I thank my mom for, because it made me, focus in class and make sure I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But I had to have B+. So for me, I wasn't getting B+ to like do well in school. I was getting B+ so I can be on the basketball court, So once that was done, once getting B+ did not matter anymore, my mom was like, well, now you're in college and C's get degrees, because she knew it got harder. I was like, well, okay. All right. And, my senior year, I had decided that I wasn't going to play basketball, that I was just going to go to school and be a college student. And that did not work out for the best. I had so much anxiety of if people weren't going to like me, if I wasn't going to fit in. And these are all the things of me being a people pleaser that just kept coming out and kept coming out. And so I decided to go back to the one thing I knew I was great at, and the one thing that was my constant growing up, and that was basketball. And so I switched colleges, went and played, and realized I shouldn't have. But I did, and I had to stick to my decision at the time. And so I played, or, I stuck with it. And what happened was my skin started to stress out. I started getting tired. In certain ways, I felt like I was starting to resent my parents because I would tell them and be like, man, like, this sucks. And, but it wasn't until like the second year where things really started to change. Like the first year it sucked, and they were telling me like, you're not used to it yet. Like, get used to it and see how it is. And so I did. Second year came, and I was definitely ready to walk away. But I came back home, came back to my foundation, and I went and visited my teachers, and I kept getting told, hey, Gina, your mom, because my mom was so proud of me, and, she was right to be proud of me. Your daughter's playing no matter what division, I was Division III, and the fact that, I was just playing was everything to her, and she was just so proud of me, and she was telling everybody, my daughter's playing basketball, and, I was happy to see that she was, happy to see me using my skill on the basketball court a little bit. But what I realized was it wasn't what I wanted anymore. And I didn't know how to tell people that. Like, I can easily tell my mom because she's like my best friend. Hey, I do not want this. But how do you tell the people who like helped you get to that point where you are in college, right? Like, how do you tell them that, oh, this is not what I want? Like, I don't want to play basketball anymore. I don't want to be this person, And so every time somebody was like, oh, congrats, you're playing basketball, you're putting Shape on the map, I just was like, oh, yeah, thanks. And I was never really excited about it. And but when people were saying that, it was like this unknown expectation of me that I didn't realize I had until I came back over the summer that, oh, I'm playing college basketball now. I'm putting Shape on the map. And I all of a sudden put this expectation of me of if I can play and do well, maybe they'll look at other kids at Shape more. I put my expectation of my whole high school on me in a minute. And I never should have did that because that made everything worse. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. Like, I can put Shape on the map and make sure that more players like me are able to be seen. And, yeah, not the smartest idea. But, for me, it all like came from, we had this, guy who went to Shape, and he graduated, and he went on to play in the NFL, and he plays for the Steelers. Some of you may know who I'm talking about. Others of you may not. Him going to Shape and graduating from Shape is a well-known thing. So if you look him up, you'll see. But he did, and I just kind of thought about him, and I was like, he opened so many doors. Maybe I can too, and I can open other doors as well. But that's not what I was called to do. That's not what God called me to do on this earth. That was not my purpose. And I soon figured that out by, just by stressing in that year too. I didn't meet all the requirements I was meant to stay on the team. And I also was just not doing well in school. Like, as you guys know, I failed English twice. And, my mind was just not where it needed to be. It was not on the court. It wasn't in the classroom. It wasn't even in the United States. My mind was in Europe at the time, and that's where I wanted to be during my first 2 years of college, really. And it took me walking away from the game to finally realize that it's okay to say no, and I said no for the first time. I was like, look, I'm not, they offered me a contract to, do a certain amount of things, stay on the team. And I had the conversation with my mom. I told her, I said, hey, they gave me this and they want me to sign it, but I don't want to. I am getting so stressed out to the point where I can't figure out my schoolwork, where I can't even, sleep well. My skin, my eczema was bubbling over on itself. And I wasn't there mentally. I wasn't even showing up to the best of my ability on the court when I was able to even practice with them. And I just wasn't showing up the best of my ability in any place in my life at the time. And when I let basketball go, I finally felt like I could show up, and when I said to my mom, I want to say no, I want to walk away, she understood because of the stress and everything that I was going through. And for the first time, I was like, oh, it's okay to say no. That didn't change how she looked at me. That didn't change her being proud of me or her loving me or anything like that. And so in that, though, I had no idea who I was. In college, that's what you do. You figure out who you are in college. And so as you guys know, I found some new friends outside of college through the Nick Jonas concert, where I set up and tore down for the concert. And from there, college got so much better. And I got so much better. I started taking more time for myself, and I started to grow as a person, and I started figuring out what I like to do and what I wanted to do with my life and the purpose for my life and where I wanted to go and all the different things that I really, really wanted to do. And in doing so, it felt amazing just to do and finally get out in the world and be who I was purposed on this earth to be. So let's get into a couple of the mindset changes that I did to be able to be where I am now, where I'm okay with saying no and knowing that the people in my life are good with the boundaries that I have set and understand and continue to love me and continue to cheer me on and be proud of me the same way I am for them. So one of the first things is taking the first step by just doing one small thing for yourself a day. And so for me, it was saying no to basketball. And then me and one of my friends who did the Nick Jonas concert with me, Stephanie, that you guys learned about in the last episode, we used to do the girls' nights that I was telling you, or the girls' days that I was telling you about, things that I needed just, to be able to talk to somebody and be able to have just fun and laugh and go get something to eat, get our nails done, get some froyo, and it was just always fun. And the next thing I did, or I've started doing recently a lot more, is setting time limits. So if you do say yes to someone, set a time limit. Maybe you say yes to a party. Set a time limit. Say, okay, I'm going to go to this party. I'm going to go from this time to this time, and then I'm going to head out. And, I showed up. I showed up for a couple hours, and I enjoyed, you enjoyed your time. You hung out with the people. You got to make some memories. And then you got to go home and have a good sleep. Maybe have some tea, lay in your bed, watch a movie, and just chill. Setting time limits for different things is important because, if somebody asks you to move stuff and you're like, okay, cool, what time do I need to be there? They're like, all right, awesome. And you'd be like, okay, cool, I can be there from here to here, because sometimes there can be times where people will take advantage of you wanting to be there for them. And they'll take the whole day when you don't really have the whole day to give them. So you just need to make sure that you set that boundary of a time limit and, don't back off on it. If you have a time limit that you need to, go do something else or be like, whatever you need to do in your day, go do it and let them know. Because if they love you, if they want to be in your life, they're going to respect your boundaries. They're going to respect your time limit. And they're going to be, all right, cool. We're going to get as much stuff done in this time that we can. And sometimes, you can't always do that, obviously. If you want to go to a party, sometimes stay the whole time. Or if you go on a family trip, you're hanging out with them the whole time. But then after that family trip, and they're like, oh, let's plan another one. Like, yo, can we wait a couple weeks? Like, let's wait a week or two and, reset, and then we can plan for the next one. So it's just setting boundaries in a loving way, not setting boundaries to like put these walls up, against like your family or anything, or to keep people out of your life, but it's to bring people in your life in the right place at the right time and with the right amount, right? Because sometimes relationships can be moved too fast and mess things up. Sometimes relationships can move too slow and mess things up. That's romantically wise. But even like with your family and friends, like sometimes you can be like, oh yeah, we can go do that. And then like you realize you didn't really want to do that. And that messes up your whole relationship because now you feel like you always have to say yes because you said yes the first time and you made it seem like you enjoyed yourself. But if you were just really truthfully and honest in that moment, then your family would understand, have that respect for you to be like, all right, cool, we can do something else that we both like to do next time. And so like that's such an important thing for me. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption. I just want to ask, can you please go ahead and follow us on Stories of a Dandelion podcast, either on Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. And if you're watching via YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a podcast episode. And if you want to become a part of the Stories of a Dandelion family, all you got to do is go to Instagram and put in Stories of a Dandelion, and we'll pop up and you can follow us there as well as on Threads. All of this is linked down below, and I just want to thank you guys for tuning in and being a part of the Stories of a Dandelion community. All right, I'm going to let you get back to the podcast. Enjoy. Is boundaries. Another thing is rehearsing saying no. Rehearse saying no. It can be hard for some of us to say no. It is not an easy thing to do. For me, at first, saying no was like the hardest thing. I think it's because like when you say yes to somebody and you see how happy they are, it's like, oh, like you're always going to want to say yes, like, because you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. For me, it was, I wanted to fit in. I didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I didn't want to, cause any offenses. I wanted to avoid conflict. I'm not a person who likes conflict. And so, growing up, the easiest way not to be in conflict was to avoid conflict, right? So I would avoid conflict by just saying yes. I learned that you never express yourself when you just continue to say yes. You're never able to tell people how you feel about a situation when you're always telling them yes, yes, yes. And so what I had to do is start to say no. And be like, no, I don't want to do this. No, I don't want to go there. No, I don't want to blah, 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 blah. And when people start to know how you feel, they can start to understand you better, which means you get a deeper relationship with the people you love. And that is what I've learned from just saying no, rehearsing how to say no. Obviously be nice about it. Don't just go out there and be like, no, bro, we need to do it. Like, no, just be nice about it. Articulate why. And sometimes you don't have to articulate why. But, if it's something that's like kind of serious and things like that are really serious, say no and articulate why you're saying no. Or if it's just something where this is a boundary you're setting and there's no reason why and that boundary is not going to change, just say no. You don't always have to explain yourself to people. I think we are in a world now where we always feel like we have to explain ourselves for some reason. But there are times where you don't have to explain yourselves. Even in the times that you do, it seems like you do need to explain yourself. If you don't feel like you need to explain yourself, don't explain yourself. It is what it is, and you're going to keep rolling on with your life. I feel like that was kind of mean, but I'm just, just being honest. Like, sometimes all you can do is say no. And sometimes that is all of what somebody will understand from you, is if you simply just say no, and if you've explained yourself over and over and over again to the reasons why you don't want to, cut this boundary. And then one day you're just like, no, like, this is not a boundary that's going to change. This is not a boundary that is, that can be tweaked in any way possible. It is a set boundary. It is no. And if that is a problem with you, then it's a problem with you. But this is just my boundary, and it's up to you if you want to keep me in your life and adhere to the boundary that I have or not. And you keep it pushing, because what you learn from getting out of a mindset of being a people pleaser is everybody's not going to like you. Everybody's not going to like you. I learned that for real in college. Because in high school, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there are people in high school that didn't like me. I'm pretty sure, because like I said, not everybody likes you, but I never knew about it. So everybody was nice to me, and so I just assumed everybody, liked me, didn't really have a problem with me. But it wasn't really till college where it's like, oh, people were like, people will show you that they got a problem with you, and they're not afraid to let you know. And it's like, oh, okay. Cool. You got to reset real quick, let yourself know what it is, and then keep it going. And with that, you make your relationships with the people you want to make your relationships with. You grow with the people that you want to grow with, and you keep moving in your life, and you keep changing that people-pleasing mindset. All right, so the next one is, okay. So for me, this is a hard one, to identify the behaviors, because I don't really know the behaviors. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a psychiatrist or anything that, that needs to, I'm not a therapist, okay? But what I do know is I do go to therapy. I just started going to therapy. And it has changed my mindset a lot as well when it comes to people pleasing. Just identifying the different ways of how, your negative thoughts play in your mind, of like when somebody says something to you or when you say something to yourself, and how you can interpret what somebody else says to you so negatively makes such a difference. And knowing, like, okay, this is what this is, this is what this is, this is what this is, it's a game changer for having a positive mindset and for not having a people-pleasing mindset. And so for me, I already had started, doing the self-work of, saying no, setting the boundaries, putting myself first, being okay with putting myself first, and working toward helping me identify who I am, helping me find my purpose. And with that, I'd gone as far as I could on my own. And I needed therapy. I think, we all need therapy at some point in our life to just talk, our problems through with somebody that has a better understanding of our minds than we do. And so I've started going to therapy, and my therapist has started helping me identify the different ways of negative thoughts that come in our mind. And man, has it helped me tremendously. And now whenever a negative thought comes in my mind, I'm like, oh, you're that thought. And I capture it, and then I replace it. And for me, I replace it either with a positive affirmation, which I usually link to a Bible verse, or I just link it to a Bible verse and be like, nah, this is what God told me who I am, and I'm going to keep it pushing because God has created me to be the person that I'm meant to be, and we're not going to worry about that negative thought. And in the mornings, I got positive affirmations on my door, and I say them in the morning because that is so important, to just say those different things and let yourself know that, you've come a long way. You're changing, you're growing, and whatever you want that's on your positive affirmation door, you can get. You just have to work out and toward it. And some of those things, you should just get because you're being loved in the way that you're supposed to be loved, like having fulfilling relationships, taking compliments. For me, taking compliments is so hard. Not because like the compliment, like I don't believe the compliment. I believe the compliment. It's just like I don't know what to say. Like I don't know how to take compliments because for me, I don't ever think I understood the word humility. And for me, I thought if I ever, took a compliment, that I wasn't humble. But what I realized is humility and being able to take a compliment are two completely different things. Like people compliment you for a reason, and you should be like, "Oh, thank you." Like I appreciate that very much. I'm so happy that that you see that. This is the person that I am, and be proud of that. Be proud of that. Don't let your people pleasing mind convince you that if you take the compliment and you are proud of that the person is going to think that you have an ego and that you're full of yourself, because that's not true. And if they do, again, you got to reevaluate that relationship. Because honestly, people pleasing and figuring it out and changing that mindset is all about the people that you surround yourself with and the support that you surround yourself with in doing this and changing your mindset, in mastering your mindset. And for me, I thank God that God blessed me with people in my life who always loved me for who I was, who honestly knew me before I really got to know myself. And they see changes in me, but they know all the changes in me are for the better. And just as I'm growing, they're growing and they're changing. And it's just beautiful to see how when you set the right boundaries, the healthy boundaries, and when you communicate how you feel to the people that you love, how beautiful it can be, and the relationships that it can turn into. For me, I feel like, in the recent years, I have become closer to friends than I was before. As military brats, it is not taught how to be a friend, and we pick up on these little things. And for me, it was being a people pleaser to keep our friends. But that's not how friendship should be. It's not how friendship should work. Friendships do come with, tug of wars, and it comes with its own, problems sometimes. And you're not going to agree on everything. And I think growing up, that's what I thought. I thought, relationships were that and friendships were that. And I think it had a big thing to do with, what happened with my parents. They argued a lot, and they didn't get along. And so I was like, oh, so love is always not arguing, right? Like when you don't argue, you're in love with each other. Mind you, I was also watching a lot of Disney movies and all that good stuff and all the rom-coms and stuff like that, which always showed just lovey-dovey and happily ever after, which ain't true. It's not true. Love is hard work. And in the recent years, I have, opened my eyes to the truth of love and what it entails. And love is all about choosing. And I really learned that in, 2018, when I officially decided to give my life to Jesus and choose him every day. And in choosing Jesus, it's taught me that if I ever were to get in a relationship or be with somebody or get into another friendship, that it's not about me being this person to conform to the person that they want me to be, but it's about me choosing to love them as they are and them choosing to love me as who I truly am for the person I am, just like I'm loving them for the person they truly are. And so now every time I get into a new friendship or if I get into a new relationship, I am myself. I'm not the mixture of the authentic Gina and the representative of the United States anymore, because now I do live in the United States. And so now I'm just representing me. And learning how to do that over the last couple of years has been very interesting. You know, walking out of this people-pleasing mindset and walking into this I don't know how to describe it or how to say it, but walking into my true self and who I am, and seeing what I like and what I don't like, and you know, still seeing that some of the things that I didn't like and liked as a kid and growing up are the same, but there's a couple of things that have changed and made a difference. And so when I get into these new relationships and these friendships, or if I get into a new relationship or into new friendships, I bring my full authentic self to it. And I love it, because it's either you take me for who I am or you don't. You choose to be in my life or you don't. And, you know, there was a time in my life where I would always be reaching out to the people I love all the time, and trying to maintain like my relationships just by myself. And what I've learned is you can't do that. Like, as much as, you know, it does give the other person, you know, sometimes it may give somebody else an ego boost and feel like they have this control over you, which nobody should ever have that type of control over you, because you are too amazing and too awesome to like let somebody else have that over you. Boy, girl, whoever I'm talking to, you are too amazing. You're too awesome. You were created to be on this earth to do the greatest of the greatest things. And for somebody else to think that they can have that power over you, like, let them go. Let them go. No, bye-bye. Because you are amazing exactly the way you are, and you are loved, and you deserve to be loved in the best possible way, you know? And I learned that, and I was like, you know, I'm not going to continue to sustain these relationships if my friend or if the guy I'm dating wants to sustain this relationship. They're going to have to start reaching out to me. They're going to have to start talking to me, you know? And once I started doing that, I was like, I stayed focused on what I wanted to do. And so, like, let's say a couple of years ago, I did want to, like, do this podcast or, you know, do the YouTube that I'm doing, then I would have, like, stopped. And I would have given my full self to somebody else. And then once that was done, I would have came back to this. But now, I'm like, oh, no. I'm still going to do what I want to do. I'm still going to do the podcast. I'm still going to do the YouTube. I'm still going to go out and, you know, have fun with my friends and hang out and do all those other things. But if you want to add to my life, because that is what we're all here to do, is to add to each other's lives and support one another and help one another through this life and thrive together. If that person wants to do that, then let's do it. You know, I add to you, you add to me. We add to each other in the best way. And if you want to do that, let's roll, let's get it. But if you don't, keep it pushing, keep it moving, because you can't be in my life. Because this is not about your life, and who you are is no longer. If you're a people pleaser right now, if you are a people pleaser, your life is no longer for somebody to just continue to take. It's time for you to take a stand and be like, all right, it's okay to say no. It's okay to disappoint somebody, because honestly, you're not really disappointing them. They're just upset. And though if they really truly love you, they're gonna come back and be like, I'm sorry, I get why, you know, you said no to this and da 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 da. It's okay. It is okay. And I think as people pleasers, that is the hardest thing for us to understand, that it is okay to say no, that it's okay to walk away from things, that it's okay to not do something for others or give our all to, like, everything. It can be the hardest thing. But until you take that first step to be like, no, I'm going to do this for me, and I'm going to take time for me so that I can be the best version for myself, for everybody I love, and most of all, myself, then everything's going to change. And testament for me. Like, everything changed for me when I was like, I'm going to take time for myself. I'm not going to date anybody. I'm going to just focus on me, and I'm going to focus on my relationship. For me, is my relationship with God. And man, how I have changed, how life has changed, how beautiful it's been. And as I continue to learn more about myself and learn more about my friends, like, it is so crazy how much you can learn about yourself and your friends at the same time, when like you're like kind of like on your own and doing your own thing, and then like you reach out to your friends and you see that they're going through the same thing. You know, me being in my relationship with God and really focusing on that helped me be more emotionally available, because before, when I was a people pleaser, I never expressed my emotions. But now that, like, you know, I'm out of that stage, and I'm like, oh, it's okay for me to express my emotions and how I feel, because the people I love want to hear that and they want to know that. And so then I was like, all right, cool, let's do this. And now I cry all the time, which is great, and it's okay. You should cry. It helps your body, you know, grieve and different things like that. And I like let the people that I love know how I feel, because it honestly betters the relationship. You know, if the person doesn't know how something makes you feel, like what they're saying or what they're doing makes you feel, then that's never going to change. And you're just going to have relationship problems, and eventually that relationship's just going to implode. So, you know, confronting, you know, how I feel when I can at the right times, it's been a game changer. And so I hope my story has helped some of you guys out there. I know I was kind of all over the place. Sometimes I get that way. I don't know why. I'll get into one story which will connect to another. Hopefully I didn't do that much this time. I've been trying to stay really focused. That's why I have written out everything on this notebook. That's why you see me looking down a little bit, because I've written out how I wanted this to go. So hopefully this helped one of you guys. So I hope that this helped you. I hope that this helped you know that you're not alone in this. And I cannot wait to see you guys next week for our first guest. So stay tuned for Military Brat Mondays next week. And it's getting late, so I'm going to get some sleep and get back to work tomorrow. But I love you all, and I hope that you guys are subscribing to the community, either to the podcast, or you are subscribing to our Instagram or our Threads, because Threads is the one community where we can write and talk to each other. So go ahead. All of it is Stories of a Dandelion, and they're all linked down below. And if you haven't followed me on YouTube yet, where you can watch these videos, go to The Uncharted Brat, and I will see you all there. I love you all, and I will see you next Military Brat Monday. Peace.